my channel. My name is Mouse, sometimes Andy, and I talk about books or book-related things, and today I'm going to be giving you my May TBR. It is currently April the 21st. We are close to the end of May, and so I actually don't think there's going to be a chance for me to start any of these at the end of April, which is impressive because a lot of the time when I do my TBRs, there's a strong chance that I end up starting some of the books early. I do have 30 books today. I did want to keep the list a little bit small, but it seems like most of the time on my birthday month I end up reading a ton of books because I get given books and that kind of thing, so I try to like knock out a bunch of books that I already had on the list so that I can get to the books that are being gifted to me, so you know. So let's get this show on the road. I'm going to first mention the books that I'm going to be reading and then the arcs that I'm going to be reading. So I think there's like 4 arcs. The first book on the list is going to be The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. Decca, our main character, which I may be mispronouncing, basically has to go through this like blood magic trial thing and finds out that she's actually not able to be part of her tribe and that she is part of these like near immortals who are responsible for the safety of their empire, and they have these special gifts. I heard from Art that it is actually like kind of it's a very weird book, which I love, so I'm very excited to get to reading that. It's been highly recommended to me, so we'll see what happens. The next one is The Magic Fish by Trung Le Nguyen. This book is a graphic novel in which our main character is queer and is in love with fairy tales, and so it kind of uses fairy tales to tell real life stories. I actually got to watch him speak at the San Antonio Book Festival, and I had this book on my radar for a little while, but I didn't completely commit to that basically until having heard him speak about his story with some middle grade people and their questions and that kind of thing, so I was really excited to put this on my TBR for this month. Next up we have Dragon Pearl by Yoon Hali. This is also a middle grade book. It is a Rick Riordan Presents, and Min is our main character, and she comes from a long line of people with the fox spirit's power, but her mother doesn't allow them to use it. Her brother goes AWOL basically from military service, the Space Force, and Min runs away to be able to clear his name. I've heard some really good things about it, and it's been recommended heavily at my library. Both of my libraries have lists, and that book has continually been on those lists, and so I figured I may as well get around to reading it. Next is going to be A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. This book is like about a vampire and a witch and some ancient manuscript, and all of it comes together. The reason that this is on my list is because it has been highly recommended to me by my mom and like all the adults in my life who are not active readers, but they continue to recommend it to me, and so I figured I would give it a shot. This could go terribly, but we'll see. I've heard good things about it, and they did make a TV show out of it, so fingers crossed that it's good. Next we have 13s by Kate Alice Marshall. This is another middle grade. How many middle grades did I put on the list? Oops, I guess. Anyway, this is another middle grade. It is by Kate Alice Marshall, like I said. She is a horror writer, and this is no different. This is another horror book. 3 teens come together to try and figure out or uncover the dark secret of their town. I really liked another one of her books, Something Vanishing, maybe, I think. I really liked that book a lot. It was very, the ending had me like, what the fuck? And so I know that I like her writing, and so I'm really excited to read this book, especially because it's a middle grade. It should be quick. My library has it. Win-win for everyone. Next is going to be Reflection by Elizabeth Lim. This is a part of the Twisted Tale series that Disney produces, where they retell basically the stories as you know them or give you more backstory or that kind of thing. Question this book asks is, what if Mulan had to go to the underworld to save Shang? And I really like Mulan, I like the story, and so I'm excited to get to reading this. After that we have my childhood rereads, which is the Maximum Ride series by James Patterson. I actually have a new idea for the way that I'm going to be doing that series. Basically, I will start having those videos with Bella where I explain the books to her, and it's a conversation. I think that will do better. But there's these 6 kids, and they are part of an ongoing science experiment, and they're just trying to vibe, but everybody doesn't want them to do that. And they have one of them for sure has angel wings. I think they all have wings, but I don't remember. It's been such a long time since I've read the books. But that's that. I don't have very high hopes for how this is going to go. So yeah, I don't have very high hopes. Next we have American Gods by Neil Gaiman. Also the Maximum Ride series has 10 books in it. So, right? Yeah. 9 or 10 books in it. I don't know. 9 or 10 books. So that's accounting for 8 through 17. Next is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. I've been wanting to read this for a long time, and they did make a TV show about it. It essentially talks about the gods from American lore and what happened to them and why they don't have more strength, I guess. We'll see. I like Gaiman's writing a lot, so we'll see what happens. Next is House of Holo by Crystal Sutherland. This is a speculative horror from my understanding. 3 sisters have a very weird backstory, bizarre things keep happening, and it all kind of links back to an event that happened when they were children, but they don't have any memory of this event, so they are trying to figure out like what's happening here. That is the gist that Goodreads gave me. It sounds nothing like the snippets that Art explained to me, so I don't really know what this book is about, but I love speculative horror, and so I'm excited to get to reading this one. Also, the cover is gorgeous. Then we have the Never Tilting World and the Evercruel Kingdom, both by Ridge Pecco. This is a duology about twin goddesses who basically split the world in two when they didn't fulfill prophecy correctly. I am going to be rereading the first book. I read the first book back in 2019, I think, right before I joined BookTube, so I don't think I ever talked about it. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't my all-time favorite. However, I would be interested to know how I now look at it as someone who reads books a little bit more critically rather than just for fun. I'll be rereading the first book and then reading the second book. And I heard the second book was good, so we'll see. Fingers crossed. Because I really like Pecco's writing. Which is why I will also be rereading the Bonewitch series, which is directly behind me. The Bonewitch series follows T, who is a necromancer, and she just causes fucking chaos. What I really liked about these books when I first read them was that we were hearing T's story while there were these interludes of T currently. And then the last book is about T currently. And I really liked that format. I thought it was fantastic. And these books are the books that got me back into reading after years and years of not reading. So I'm really excited to reread them now with this more critical eye, and also because I just enjoyed them so much and I highly recommend them to people, especially like women coming into power and that kind of thing. I just really enjoyed the books and I'm excited to get to read them. Also, there's monsters. I feel like nobody talks about the fact that there's monsters, but there's monsters in these. Next is Arch Enemies by Marissa Meyer. This is the sequel to Renegades, which I actually just finished today. I don't have anything more to add to that. It's the sequel to... Basically, Renegades left us with, like, snippets of, like, oh, heck, this is what the government or the Renegades are actually, like, planning on doing, but you don't have the full details, and so then you're left on the edge. Not my camera absolutely dying in the middle of filming, which is the bane of my existence. Let's try this again. Anyway, Arch Enemies by Marissa Meyer. Basically, we were left on a little bit of a cliffhanger, and so it's just the continuation of that, and I'm very excited to read it. The next book is going to be Isle Witch by Terry Brooks. This is the next book in the massive genre series. It's the starting of a new trilogy, so last month I finished the Word of Something and Void and trilogy. I read the last book in that. This month, I mean April. And so in May, I will be starting the next trilogy. I don't know how many books I have left of this series. There are so many books and so many stories. The thing that I'm a little bit hesitant about is that someone said that it follows the standard formula with the genre books, and I had mentioned before that I was bored of that formula, and that the Word and Void books were really good because they strayed from that formula. So yeah, a little bit worried because I genuinely don't want to continue down that path. The next book is going to be The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. This is a book about, sapphics and colonization and fantasy and magic and war and assassination and murder. I've heard really, really good things about this book. Everyone has told me that I need to read this book. It is a little bit on the high fantasy side, though, and I am a little bit burnt out on high fantasy, so I'm hoping that if I put this at the end of the TBR, I will be no longer a little bit burnt out on high fantasy. But this is one of the books that I did get in my Illumicrate box, and because I have the book only box, so it's the one that came for April. And it's beautiful. I'm very excited to get to reading it, but again, burnt out on high fantasy, so pushing it towards the end there. Next is going to be all of the arcs that I will be reading. Like I said, there are 4. It looks like the primary vibe is like paranormal or horror. The first book that I'm going to be reading is No Gods, No Monsters by Cadwell Turnbull. Our main character's brother is murdered in seemingly a police violence situation. However, as things uncover themselves and as things progress, it turns out that like monsters are real and there's secret societies and the monsters probably work for the government and that kind of thing. So I'm very excited to read this. It is written by a black man, which makes me feel a little bit better about the context of the book, because if I was written by a white woman, I'd be really uncomfortable. Next, we have Before We Were Blue by E.J. Schwartz. This is a contemporary, so we already know that I might not like it, but it is about mental health, so if it's done well, then there's a strong chance I like it. If it's not done well, then there's a strong chance that I hate it and I complain about it. But we'll see. Basically, these girls go into a mental health hospital for their eating disorders, and they become really close. This might be sapphic, I'm not 100% sure, but they do become really close. However, and this I can confirm as somebody who has recovered from an eating disorder and was friends with people with eating disorders, those relationships can be really toxic with one another because you can learn more things from one another, which is a problem. You don't want to do that. So they basically, at some point, I believe, have to choose between recovery and their relationship. So we will see what happens. Again, not sure if it's sapphic. The way it was worded sounded sapphic, but you know how they be sometimes with that stuff. Next up is Shaula by A.M. Kerbosh. This is technically the sequel of another book, but you don't have to read the first book in order to understand this book. It's just like a series of horror stories. There's a creepy cabin, and a guy has to like bring a creepy child's casket somewhere, and nothing is what it seems, and everything's like really weirdly quiet, and it is sci-fi horror. I really like sci-fi horror just because like shit's weird. I'm like, why? It could be science, it could be paranormal, who knows, not me. And that's what I really like about it, is that like there really is at the end of the day this like greater question of what's going on. Next, and the last book on the TBR, is I Am Margaret Moore by Hannah Cappin. There are girls that are going missing and a boy is dead, and everyone is blaming Margaret Moore, but who actually did it? The tagline for this is like, I am a girl, I am also a monster, or something like that. I am really interested to see what happens here, but I'm a little nervous. I want this to be paranormal, and so I'm a little nervous that this might be mental health related, and so if it is, y'all know I'm going to be frustrated, because a lot of the time the way we use mental health to make people villains is toxic and not the best. So that's something I'm a little bit concerned about, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's it though. That's all 30 books for my TBR. Let me know in the comments down below if you are going to read any of these books, or if you've heard of any of these books and you have any thoughts. I know we're all surprised that I voluntarily put a contemporary on my TBR and like knew it was a contemporary. I also have been told that Maximum Right is a TV show or a movie. I don't remember that as a kid. I don't remember when it came out. Maybe it really flopped that hard, but I will probably also be watching that and filming a reaction to that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I have to figure out the logistics of that. I am gonna go. So if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and share. Turn on that notification bell. I know that some people have been unsubscribed to my channel recently because YouTube hates me. Totally fine, I guess. So don't forget to check your subscriptions and make sure that I'm still on there if you wanted. If you didn't like this video, just let me know how I can improve it for you. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. I will see you again on Thursday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, and again the following Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Thanks so much. Drink your water. Take care of yourselves. Kate, thanks. Bye.